Hello, it's Geoffrey with Real Nifty Vintage, and today we are currently in my bedroom. So the aim of this video, I am going to show you my small collection of quilts. Over the years, I have amassed a variety of quilts, whether they were given to me or I picked them up at an auction, but I want to show you my small collection of quilts. Alright, this is the first quilt that I'm going to show, and it's the one that we're currently using. It's one of my favorites because of how much color it has. It really doesn't go with this room as far as like, you know, this, but my style really isn't a style in the way that there's not like, you know, a theme. I just get, and I gravitate towards what I like. So in this case, we have lots of fun little colors, pops of colors. I'm pretty sure I got this at I don't know anymore, auction? I'm thinking an auction. But there are some really fun choices here with the polka dots on this one. And I just really enjoy this one. And you'll notice that there's more of a pink tone. Pink is kind of one of my new favorite colors over the last couple of years. But, you know, there's some fun little cowboys in here. We've got florals. We've got, you know, this kind of stuff. Probably was part of, you know, old aprons or something. But you can tell a handmade quilt. I don't know if you ever knew this, but you can tell a handmade quilt by looking at the stitches. And you'll note that they are irregular. So if you look here, you can see that the stitches are not all the same length as, you know, for one thing. And generally, the closer together the stitches, you know, the better quality, they say. Now, I don't necessarily care. I look at the overall quilt, the colors, stains, things like that, and that's sort of my gauge. But yeah, you don't want, you know, big gaps, because that just shows that it might fall apart or it's not constructed as well as it could be. But I wanted to show you this one right here because it just has so many wonderful colors. And look at the border. It's this pink and white triangle. So this is one of my favorites, and I don't remember what I paid for it at this point. I actually don't even remember where I got it, but it is a great one. So you'll see there are just a couple repeating patterns. I think this one might be repeating. Honestly, I don't think there's much repeating patterns in here. Now there is one blood stain right here, right there. I tried getting it out a while ago, and that's as best as I can do, and it doesn't really bother me too much. But in other words, I just think this is a really great quilt. So what we're going to do is actually go to the chest right here, the cedar chest, and we will take a look inside. Okay, so why don't we look at this one here? This is another second favorite, probably because of the color. So it has this wonderful, what do you call that, coral or a peachy pink color. And you can see the stitches on this one more clearly because of the contrast. But again, it's hand quilted. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and lay it out on the bed and be right back with you. Alright, so now we have this quilt. Like I showed earlier, it has this wonderful peachy pink, like color, coral, if you want to call it that. And then these really fun little geometric spirals and leaves, I guess you would say. It's just a really fun one. I like it. It's clean, it's fresh looking, and again, I don't remember where I got this quilt either. That's a little unfortunate, but I don't remember. But I really enjoy this one. It has a nice white, you know, midsection here. And it's not busy. It's not like a super busy one, but it's really bright. I think it does a good job at brightening up this space. And unfortunately, something with old quilts is they were not really made to fit queen beds or king beds. They were mostly made to fit double beds or full beds or twin beds. But for the most part, they do a pretty good job at not being too small. But this is another favorite of mine, and I just think it's a really good one. We're gonna go back into the chest and see what we have next. I will touch on some of the like pillowcases in just a bit, but let's go on to this next one right here. It's probably my smallest quilt, and that's because it is my oldest quilt. It's the one that I had whenever I was about 9 years old. So I'll open this up and I'll tell you about it. All right, so this one obviously is smaller. You can see that it only goes to about here, and the same thing on the other side. So I would have used this with a twin bed at the time, and that would have been a great size quilt for it. So let's take a look at the subject on this one. We have, now this one, it has some wear over the years. I guess I really didn't hold back on it. So you can see some of the shingles are missing, even some of the trees, you know. So yeah, I'm a little surprised, but you know, even some of this axe is missing. But it's a cabin motif. We've got a heart, little flourishes. So it's in brown and white. And you can see we've got this kind of diagonal panel here. But yeah, it's just the repeating cabin. Now, I'm going to say this one was actually made for me. So I think that the idea with the cabin is that when I was younger, we used to go to Branson and we stayed in a cabin. And I think that might be the idea behind the cabin, because I did enjoy that. So let me flip you this corner here. You can see something. It says quilted by Grandma Dolores Zigan, 1998. So I was about 9 years old then. And so she quilted this. She's a big quilter. And I do have another quilt that she made, it's more contemporary, that I'll show, that actually fits this bed. But here we have the wonderful stitches again, all hand done. But yeah, it's a smaller one. The colors are just not my most exciting colors anymore, but it's a nice one for what it is. And yeah, it's a sad thing that it's kind of falling apart. I wouldn't have expected some of these stitches maybe to come out like that. Could probably be repaired, but for the most part, I don't really pull it out or look at it very much. So I guess it's all right. But I'm going to go back to I was going to say treasure chest, the Cedar Chest, and we'll take a look at the next one. So here's the next one right here that she made. And this one is much more my speed. I like the white on it. I like the blue. I like the green. Has little critters on there. I'm going to open it up and show you. All right, so as you can see, this one has a lot more detail, and it's more of a mural. So there's much more going on. Lots of cross stitches in this one. There's little X's here. Now this is one that I just received within the last few years, or within the last 5 years at least. But so I haven't had this one for terribly too long. Although it was actually quilted a pretty long time ago. I didn't realize that until I was just looking at the date on there. So what this one is, and I'll show it to you right like this. We've got a couple cardinals up top. We've got lots of flowers. We've got a blue house, picket fence, another thing of flowers, tree, deer, squirrels, I guess they are. They're either squirrels or bunnies. But yeah, it's a mostly white quilt with the fun colors on there. So this one was quilted for me. And I think the story is on this one. Oh, let me show you the sides. So along the sides, you get more of this. So this is, I think, supposed to be more of a wedding blanket. One that she gifted her grandchildren when they got married. However, that's not really in the cards for me, at least in the traditional sense. And I don't think it would, even though that's an option, I don't think that that's something I really want to do anyway, period. But here's the writing on the back of this one. So it says Geoffrey's quilt made by Grandma Zigan 2/18/01. So that's about 19 or almost 20 years ago. Well, no, wait a minute. What is my brain? Yeah, almost 20 years ago. So yeah, this one was quilted quite a while ago with the intent that it would be given years later. So I received it, I think, 4 or 5 years ago. When we actually moved into this house. We had a housewarming party, and this was my gift for that. Now, I think that's what it is, because it has a house on it. Or, wait, that's not what I'm saying. Well, I'm actually not sure what the intent is. It does have the house. I guess it's sort of like a mixture, like a housewarming slash wedding kind of a blanket, because normally you join two people under the same house. So I think that's the intent with this one. But it's one of my favorites because of it's white, it's crisp, it has lots of colors, little animals and stuff. But again, it's one that I don't remember that I have. Half the time I forget that I have it. But yes, this is a good reminder that it's here. And it's a nice large size. It spills over the edges. So it's designed for a queen, I believe. Yeah, that's a good size. All right, we're gonna go ahead and look again in the wonderful cedar chest. I think we're getting down to the bottom here. Okay, so let me show you, let's start up here. I do have a couple, these are vintage. We've got the blue flowers. So this one would be good with that. That works. Or this one. Same sort of scenario. The blue is a little bit lighter. A lot of these can be adapted to work with, you know, the different quilts because of the colors. So if well, not the brown one so much. This one with the peach and the green, I guess I really don't have a great set for that. But usually all of my quilts have some blue in them, so that should work. But now this is just a gray. This is a nice sheet. This one right here works well with that, really well. So that's one that I like to use with that one. And of course it also works with the first one that I showed because there's bits of blue in that one. So that's a good sheet, and it's vintage. These are not vintage, but they're here, and I don't really even like them. So there was a time whenever beige and brown and stuff was something I used, but this quilt here, I actually bought in Branson about maybe 6 or 7 years ago. So Aaron was with me at the time, and we went and we bought this quilt from a quilt shop in Branson, Missouri. It's actually in Tanger Outlet. It's like a strip mall. And it's that same kind of idea that I was looking for more neutrals at the time. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this one out and show it to you. All right, so here's that quilt opened up. Now I'm going to say flat out that this is probably one of my least favorites, and one that I could sell and not feel bad about pretty much at all, except for the fact that I remember buying it and being in the moment, and it was sort of a big deal at the time, but I'm not that attached to it for the colors. Not really a fan of the colors, and it's a machine-made piece, which is, you know, I'm okay with that. And the other thing is, it's not really, so let me say, this quilt, I remember buying it on sale because we walked into the quilt shop and I was sort of, I guess, mistaken with how expensive quilts were. And I believe, my memories, if I'm correct here, I think that most of the quilts in that store were $200 or $300. And I was thinking that quilts would be like $100. Now this one was $100, and it was only that because it had, the size was not correct. So the way she explained it to me, she said it was not a uniform, like it was like a missize piece. So it had a special deal to it. Now I never really double checked to see what that was. I think in the moment she measured it for us to show us that it was like off by like 5 inches on one side or however it was. But it fit the bill for the day, and I was able to buy a quilt. Now, if you look here, you know, it's really pretty. There are lots of details, lots and lots of details. It's a pretty stiff quilt too, but look at all of those, like that's all stitched. And now, of course, you're gonna probably use a sewing machine because all of this, so much detail, but it creates a nice texture. Just with the stitches alone, you've got like this kind of brickwork almost, and then this kind of frilly flower. So there's a lot of detail that went into it, even though it was a sewing machine, but it's really nice. So it has a good stiff, kind of a heavy duty feel to it. It's I was gonna say, is it semi? No, I didn't complete my word. I didn't know if it was flippable. What do you call that? Reversible. But yeah, so all in all, it's not It's not one of my most favorites, but let me show you another great one, and I think it's the last one in my case. We'll go to that one. And this is the last quilt that I have. All right, so this one here was also made for me specifically. And I think this one I received around 2000. Now that year, okay, it's very faded. She just wrote with ink on it. Okay, so this would have been 2004. And it's a 9 patch quilt. So I'll open this up. It's sort of this really pretty French blue with the gingham. Yeah, I'll pop that one open. All right, so here we go with this one. As you can see, there's lots of nice shades of blue, whether we have the sort of light blue here or we have the gingham, and then we have the white. It's just a nice sort of tone-on-tone piece. Now, I said this before, it was made for me at the time whenever I had a slightly smaller bed or a twin. So you can see it goes pretty much just to the edge here and pretty similar on the other side. It's not a very large quilt, so we don't really use it unfortunately anymore. And the other thing is I used to use this one all the time, and that's pretty much true with that other cabin quilt that I showed earlier. And so if you look here, you'll see a lot of the stitches have been torn. And so I'm not sure what causes that, but you can see here it's all that. So there should be a dash line of an X going through each one of these pieces. This one here is actually intact still, so it should look like that. So it could probably be repaired, but it's not like it's a piece that we're actively seeing all the time. So as you can see, that is the end of my chest. I mean, we do have some things here. This is new. I bought that off of QVC or something. Yeah, I went through a QVC phase. It reminded me of something that I used to have when I was younger. Anyway, this type of material. That's just a white sheet. I'm not sure why it's there. But yeah, I could actually do for maybe a couple new quilts. I wouldn't mind that. So thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye-bye.